Hello everybody, I'm Bob Wilfert, one of the physicians asked to help out with this year's inaugural year of the FRAMES course, previously known as Basic and then Advanced Doctoring. And I thank you for participating in small groups in which we help orient students to parts of the physical examination starting the week of July 19th. On Monday the 19th, students will hear an hour and a half lecture in which they're oriented to a physical examination. The point of the orientation lecture and the point of the small group sessions to follow it, the sessions you'll be leading, isn't to make students here in their second week of medical school be expert diagnosticians. Instead, it's just to give them some sort of framework, an idea of the movements, a vocabulary of movement, onto which they can hang additional skills throughout the year. One of the ideas that we're going to be discussing a bit briefly in the orienting lecture on the 19th is the importance of our Gestalt, the Augenblick, the examination we undertake in the blink of an eye, one that sort of sets our mood and helps us determine how nervously or thoroughly or assertively to work from that point forward as we choose elements of the physical examination. Appreciate it if you made mention when you are examining each other or the standardized patients in front of you what your initial reaction to their appearance might be, because I think that the Augenblick is an idea that our students need to come back to for all time. There are a couple additional things I hope that you'll model as you lead students through your small groups. One being that you always use hand hygiene prior to any contact with the patient. And secondly, that we get in the habit for students of always approaching the patient from their right, so that any variation comes from pathology and not from technique. We're going to start with physical examination skills involving the chest. And this will have to be very introductory stuff, crawling before they can walk, walking before they can run. So for instance, I expect we'll have to tell everybody that the ears go forward on the stethoscope and maybe how to hold the bell. I'd also appreciate it if you spent some time working with students to make sure that they've got good percussion technique. Try to get them to hyperextend the DIP on the pleximeter finger, putting just the knuckle on the surface, and then using the fingertip to do a staccato tap against the pleximeter, not something sustained that dulls the sound. Now, I'll be happy if everybody's holding the stethoscope correctly and is listening across the chest in 6 positions as they're ausculting breath sounds on their standardized patients. But it might be that you have free time because these are going to be quick learners. And if that's the case, please consider talking about how in an obstructive person the expiratory phase might be long, or how in a person who has an infiltrate, the 99 test, which we will teach them is German and is pronounced with oi noises, 99, can increase fremitus. We'll also be ausculting the heart, first palpating with the hand over the left chest. Make sure that people are using modest technique for this and the hands are washed always from the right. It's my goal that students as early as this week can identify a point of maximal impulse, can tell if the rhythm is regular or not, and can tell if a person's in systole or diastole, and because of that can name S1 and S2. I think eventually we'll ask them to name S1 and S2 and also make sure that there aren't other noises, not that they'd know what those other noises represent at this point in their career. Again, if time allows and you want to do some play with the students, you might teach them how the left decubitus position can make mitral noises easier to hear, or how going from stand to a squat or some other way of getting a Valsalva might change the noise that a systolic outflow murmur might make. However, I think it's important to note that a consistent dissatisfier from previous classes of students was that each small group teacher used their own twist or taught the skills that they thought were important, and they might not have been the same skills or the same technique that was taught in a different group. And so I will be sending you a tick sheet, and I hope you go through that. If you want to do some play over and above what's on this tick sheet, I think that's great, but otherwise, please stick to the tasks at hand. In addition to having talked about some of these skills during our orienting lecture, students will have access to Bates videos, which are meant to describe the techniques used on the course Blackboard. These students are going to be so excited. Second week, of course, they're going to be spending time with you, excellent physicians, learning how to do the physical examinations they might not have expected to do for several years. Again, we're not expecting for Nobel quality work today, but just giving them such a structure, it's going to be fun. I hope you enjoy them.